some of you, my critics, when I saw something of value in Dianetics. Oh, look at that Farrakhan. He's sold out. See, I can prove that I didn't get a dime from Dianetics or Scientology. We spent a lot of money buying the books on Dianetics. I saw something of value. I thought we could use it.
In 1945, after a 4-year stint in the Navy, Hubbard became involved in ritual magic with a protege of British Satanist Aleister Crowley.
They start performing ceremonies to find a woman who will be willing to be the mother of an incarnation of the Antichrist, Babylon. Sexual ceremonies were performed between Parsons and Cameron, with Hubbard watching and telling them what to do and observing things on the astral plane. And this was meant to, she would become pregnant and they would control this elemental destructive force. I can't emphasize this too much. Hubbard was trying to incarnate pure evil so that he could control it to his own ends.
But the church insists that Hubbard's participation in the alleged rituals was part of a government mission.
We know about L. Ron Hubbard. He was sent in by one of the American security forces with the brief to shut the thing down, which effectively he did.
Government agent or not, Hubbard was destined to become the pop therapist of his era. In 1950, at the age of 39, he wrote an essay in astounding science fiction, detailing discoveries he made about the human mind in a science he called Dianetics. The essay became the foundation for Dianetics, the modern science of mental health.
Dianetics through mind. And this book, that's the background of all of this. That's what started all the trouble.
Have you heard of Jack Parsons, Ron L. Hubbard, or Aleister Crowley? Have you heard of the Babylon workings? Well, a lot of people that have heard of these infamous individuals, and some people really look up to Ron L. Hubbard and Aleister Crowley and also Parsons. So what's interesting about these people is the specific works and what they called magical rites. Now, Crowley, most people have heard of Aleister Crowley and Ron L. Hubbard, but not everybody's heard of Parsons. Parsons is one of the godfathers of rocketry in modern age, and a lot of people call a Satanist.
But Jack Parsons was possessed with extraordinary ideas that sought far loftier heights than mere space rocket designs. Parsons was fascinated by the occult, and in 1941 he was to join the Pasadena chapter of Ordo Templi Orientis, Aleister Crowley's secret society. Not long after, Parsons took over the Agape Lodge himself. Observing Parsons' natural aptitude for ritual sex magic called Thelema, the membership saw him as a potential successor to the great beast Aleister Crowley himself, whom Parsons addressed as Most Beloved Father. Born on October 12, 1875 in Warwickshire, England, Aleister Crowley was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and mountaineer. He was responsible for founding the religion and philosophy of sexual magic, Thelema, in which role he identified himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity into the Aeon of Horus in the early 20th century. In 1898, he joined the esoteric Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, where he was trained in ceremonial magic. Like many of that era, Crowley was something of a crusading militant intellectual, determined to break down the conventions of accepted social morality. Later he traveled to Mexico and then India to study Hindu and Buddhist practices. In 1904 he married Rose Edith Kelly, and they honeymooned in Cairo, Egypt. In the Great Pyramid, Crowley conducted an occult ritual intending to access supernatural powers. The black magic ritual held in the Great Pyramid marked an unexpected turning point in Crowley's life. The following day he recounted, "Rose got into a strange state of mind. I had never seen anything like it before. She kept on repeating, dreamily yet intensely, 'They are waiting for you. They are waiting for you.'" When Crowley asked Rose who was waiting, she kept repeating that it was Horus, an Egyptian god. Rose knew nothing of magic and even less of Egyptology, making it highly unlikely that she was receiving a message from the gods. But to test what Rose was saying, he took her to the Cairo Museum. And although Rose had never visited the museum before, she rushed through the rooms filled with ancient artifacts, until suddenly she stopped dead before case number 666. "There he is," she insisted. Within the case was the image of the god she claimed to have seen in her vision, the god Horus. Over the next 3 days, at precisely the same time, an unearthly voice dictated to Crowley the Book of the Law, the book that would become the Bible of his new religion. Following their fateful ritual in the Great Pyramid, Crowley's wife Rose mysteriously proclaimed that the equinox of the gods has come. The alleged superhuman intelligence contacted by Aleister Crowley during his visit to Egypt was named Aiwass, who declared, "I am a god of war and vengeance," and then dictated to Crowley a work called the Book of the Law, which prophesied wars and revolutions leading to the collapse of Christian civilizations and the dawn of the Aeon of Horus. Crowley's Bible also proclaims the law of Thelema, usually summed up in 3 mantra-like verses. "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. And every man and every woman is a star." According to another Crowley student, Kenneth Grant, Aiwass is an extraterrestrial from Sirius, the stellar representation of the Egyptian goddess Isis.
The magic cults of the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th centuries in the Middle East were fascinating. The only modern work that has anything to do with them is a trifle wild in spots, but it's fascinating work in itself, and that's work written by Aleister Crowley, the late Aleister Crowley, my very good friend.
In the years of the primal force, in the dawn of terrestrial birth, man mastered the mammoth and horse, and man was the lord of the earth. He made him an hollow skin from the heart of an holy tree. He compassed the earth therein, and man was the lord of the sea. He controlled the vigor of steam, he harnessed the lightning for hire, he drove the celestial team, and man was the lord of the fire. Deep-mouthed from their throne, deep-seated, the choirs of the eons declare the last of the demons defeated. For man is the lord of the air. Arise, O man, in thy strength, the kingdom is thine to inherit, till the high gods witness at length that man is the lord of his spirit.
Now I want to talk a little bit about, is Minister Louis Farrakhan now shilling for Scientology? The Blaze reported that Farrakhan and his Nation of Islam are busy incorporating elements of Scientology, and we've spoken about this before on the show, and I wanted to ask you, is this a real thing? And because we haven't heard like a public David Miscavige, Louis Farrakhan, we love each other kind of endorsement situation, but there seems to be a subtle effort by Farrakhan, not so subtle for those people that follow Scientology and report about Scientology as you do, but is it a real thing?
Yeah, absolutely, it's a real thing. It's funny, we're going from one racist misogynist to another.
It's racist misogynistic.
Yes,
media mayhem.
and Louis Farrakhan, as the leader of the Nation of Islam, as inherited from Minister Mohammed, he has been encouraging his, well, I say encouraging, but, cult leaders like Farrakhan don't encourage. They tell their followers what to do. So let me reframe that. He's been telling his followers to do Scientology since 2012, if not before that, okay? And, it only makes sense that a kook like Louis Farrakhan would look to a kook like L. Ron Hubbard and his quote-unquote teachings for some sort of knowledge. Because let's face it, cult leaders look to other cult leaders to learn how to control their own flock. And that's what I see is going on here. Now, Scientology endorses this because the fact is that, they get to, in their whole smoke and mirrors PR strategies that they use, which always backfire, they're loving it because they can finally show black faces, in Scientology, which they weren't able to do before. Why? A, because L. Ron Hubbard had nothing but contempt for black people. He called them Bantus. He was... Is that
in somewhere?
Yeah, you can read it yourself. Look up Hubbard Bantu, B-A-N-T-U. It's just, he didn't, he really saw blacks as lesser beings, degraded beings, if you will. So he's a racist too.
My video tonight, Leah, I hope you guys have been following, is on A&E. And recently she did a show about Louis Farrakhan, which 8 years ago, he announced that I saw, everyone is going to be on course or we're going to thank you and say goodbye. And I saw it and went, oh my God, that's disconnection. He's talking about Scientology. And I'd heard he had joined Scientology, but I thought, no way. So I made a video. And it was a message to the African American community just saying, look, Scientology doesn't care about you. They don't. They care about 3 things: money, bodies in the shop, and any connections you have. That's it. I was in for 30 years. There were maybe 4 or 5 black people in total. Michael Roberts and, I don't know, a few other people, but that was it. They didn't care about the black community. But finally, just like the gay community, they realized, no, wait a minute, these people have money and they have connections. So then, of course, okay, now we're in the area. We want to help you. Well, I went out to their, what do they call it? Their community center that they have in Inglewood with Lynn Campbell. The 2 of us went out there and they were going to have some big meeting. And so we thought, all right, let's go. And we get out there and there's a big line outside. They had locked out the lady who came. I think she was a professor. And she came, and because she was going to speak about the homeless, my guess is because she said, no, it has nothing to do with Dianetics or Scientology, they lock them out. It was like, oh, that's brilliant. Now that's really some good PR. So Louis Farrakhan, following that, it's like you really have to think, now wait a second. And I've been on, like Ish, who's a friend of mine, who has a Facebook site called Scientology's Invasion of the Black Community.
You've seen the light and you can't see me? I don't care how many candles they burn for you. See, when you saw those 3 candles, you didn't see me, then you still in darkness. You just have kept your blind for long. Because when they took your blindfold off and you see the light, if you didn't see me, you saw a lie. You saw a mystery and a symbolism that you didn't understand. You paid out your money for nothing. So you pay your money for nothing, you're still in darkness. Not only am I the light, I'm all the lights. I'm your compass too. I am your compass. compasses. The one that points north, that's the wrong direction. I point east. See, you may have taken an oath of secrecy, but I'm not bound. I'm free. I'm here to set you free from your oath with the devil. Isaiah 61. I'm here to set those free that are bound. Isaiah 61:1. You bound up? You took an oath you don't know how to get out of?